Sudden knock on the door caught Bayan's attention. She frowned and made her way to open the door. When she saw who was standing outside, she gasped in surprise. She whispered. Jungwon looked at her and smirked. He joked and poked her cheek, making her frown. She demanded, her feet shaking in anger. She was pissed because they had taken her away from her home. He laughed. He grinned and pushed past her, entering the room. He took a seat on the couch and crossed one leg over the other. He rested his chin on the top of his palms and looked at her. He didn't seem to feel guilty or apologetic when he had taken her away from her home. Ryan looked at him in shock and was about to leave the room before he spoke. He chuckled evilly. Ryan rushed downstairs while panting heavily. She was scared of Jungkook's behavior towards her. She was terrified that he would hurt her or kill her. She didn't know what to expect from him. It was scary. Suddenly, she bumped on someone, causing them both to fall on the floor. She cried out, looking down to see Jungkook. She blinked multiple times, unsure why did he look so familiar. He asked. His eyes roamed around to notice their position. She was top of him while he was laying down. His eyes met hers, and suddenly he froze. He could feel his heart beating quicken. His breathing stopped. His brain went blank. There was something so memorizing about this woman. Her lips, her smile, those cute freckles, her bright hazel brown orbs, her brown wavy hair. The way her cheek flushed slightly when she was embarrassed, Jungkook laughed harder. Was he dreaming? This beautiful woman was staring into his soul, making him forget everything except her. He didn't want to lose her. His hand slowly reached towards her face and brushed her soft cheek. A small gasp escaped her lips as his hand touched her gently. Jungkook smiled. Ryan looked at him and immediately got off him. He said, Ryan bowed at him, making him frown. Did she hate him already? He was disappointed. Jungkook sighed and held her chin softly, turning her head towards him. He whispered softly. He stared into her eyes as she nodded hesitantly. His eye widened when he realized how scared she was from him. Jungkook rested her cheek softly with his palms. He wanted to comfort her, but no, he had to keep his eye on her. He asked and felt sudden change in her behavior. She stiffened. She was hesitant about telling him her reason. It worried him. The question surprised her. She shook her head as no. She seemed nervous. Jungkook's frown grew deeper as he noticed how uneasy she looked. He asked and watched closely. She bit her lip and looked down. He sat and waited patiently to her answer. She sighed deeply and gave a small nod. He tensed up hearing those words. He asked sternly. His eyes showed the rage again. She mumbled, try not to cry. He reassured her and kissed her forehead gently. Jungkook seated on his luxurious chair in his study room patiently waiting for his brother, Jungwon. His aura was totally different now. He was enraged, but why he so caring about the girl he just met? Why did he feel so protected over her? His thoughts were interrupted by his brother's arrival. He smirked arrogantly and sat beside him. He spat harshly. He winked suggestively. He reminded him. He ordered. He teased him and smirked proudly. He ordered more aggressively, making Jungwon sigh. He said before getting up. He was about to exit the room when he was halted by Jungkook's hand grabbing his wrist. He growled dangerously, letting his calls show through his fingers. Jungwon nodded hesitantly and let his hand slip free. He sat and left the room without giving his brother another glance. Jungwon sighed heavily and rubbed his temple. Jungkook asked about YN as soon as he sat on the dining table for breakfast. His maid looked at him stunned. They never saw him before caring about someone too much. It was new for them as well. Jungwon looked at him confused. He replied irritated. He answered normally without caring about the reaction of Jungkook. He explained his was loud enough to catch the attention of everyone in the dining hall. The food in their hand flew in the air, falling back down. He chuckled nervously as the servants quickly cleaned up the mess made by Jungkook. He snapped. He didn't like his stepsister in his room, but the fact scared him the most was that she was with YN. Jungkook immediately stood up and made his way to upstairs. Jiyeon looked at YN in curiosity. She said, looking at her seriously. YN gazed down. She hated it when people look at her with sympathy in their eyes. They always thought that they could solve all her problems. She wasn't going to allow that. She couldn't. She explained. She added, looking at YN sadly. YN stared at the young girl who was around her age. He said as soon as he entered the room. Jiyoon got startled from the loud tone which made Wyan jump too. Soon all the maids along with Jiyoon and Jungwoon were gathered in the living room are hanging their heads low. He questioned coldly yet loud enough they flinched a little at his cold tone. Hearing that, Wyan flinched also, but she remained still. She was looking at the scene from the upstairs, hiding herself so no one could see her. Jungkook looked at his stepsister sternly. Wyan gasped slightly. She whimpered lowly. Jiyeon pouted while looking away. Jungkook glared at his brother who was looking down in embarrassment. He confessed quietly. He demanded angrily. One of the maids came further and stood in front of him, lowering her head. Wyan gulped at the sight. The maid looked at Wyan, who was hiding on the second floor watching the whole event unfold. He said coldly and left the place.